Hi guys, Paul Reese here, DPRS Unlimited. Strap yourselves in. Today's probably going to be a really long video. I got a question from one of my subscribers, Foodmens. That's Foodmens. I'll put his name in the description below in case I mispronounced it. So, I'll read you his question here. He says, I must say that I really do enjoy your videos on personal finance. However, when you do get the time, could you make a video on saving money and the next steps? For example, we all know to pay ourselves first, but then what? So that's really a complicated question to answer, and to answer it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn to one of my favorite books. Foodmens, I noticed on your channel that you also liked this video, so you probably like this book as well, The Richest Man in Babylon. So this book is a fantastic book on anything that has to do with money, and really was one of my starting points on figuring out how money worked and what to do with money. Now, it is a little bit generic and general, and you have to really dig between the lines to be able to understand everything that it's saying. So we're going to go over some of my notes on the laws of gold today. I'll do several videos on this question, because really it's one that's going to require a lot to answer. But for right now, what I'm assuming is that you've created the saving mentality, and you're at least putting away 10% of everything you earn, and you've started getting rid of most of your debts, and most all of your debts are gone, or at least you're working on paying those down and you're getting rid of them. So at that point, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to start learning about money, and so you're going to want to learn about those next steps. And so that's a fantastic question to ask, and that's where I'm assuming that you're at if you're watching this video. So my first note on the laws of gold is gold, and these are coming directly out of The Richest Man in Babylon. I'll read my notes, and then I'll indulge and go a little bit deeper in it. Okay, so gold cometh gladly in increasing quantity to any man who will put by not less than 1/10 of his earnings to create an estate for his future, and that of his family. Okay, so there's subpoints there. Any man who will put by 1/10 of his earnings consistently and invest it wisely will surely create a valuable estate that will provide an income for him and in the future, and further guarantee safety for his family in case the gods call him to the world of darkness. This law always saith that gold cometh gladly to such a man. Then the next subpoint is save 1/10 of your money, and the last subpoint, the gold you save will earn more and its earnings will earn more. Okay, so a lot of mouthful there, and it's kind of really hard to dig beneath that, old term language. So what that's basically saying is that gold, it has human personifications, because much like its creator, humans, us, we gave it value, we gave it meaning, so it acts like we do, because we gave it all the laws and rules that apply to it. So it tends to want to hang around with the people who take care of it. If you had a friend who mistreated you, beat you up, threw you to the side, didn't really care if you were there, ditched you sometimes, you never knew if he was going to be around, you probably stop hanging around with that guy. Now, on the other hand, if you had a friend that took care of you all the time, made sure to save your ass at least 10% of the time, he took care of you, made sure that, you were always by his side, that no matter what, he had you with him. That's the kind of person you want to hang out with, the person who constantly is always seeking you out, those are the kind of people that you like. Same with money. It likes that. So by saving 10% of your money and putting it away, you're able to then, start creating that feel for not only yourself, but your money. It likes coming to you, and you'll start seeing more and more of it starting to aspire. So the next part that we're going to talk about is gold laboreth diligently and consistently for the wise owner who finds for it profitable employment, multiplying even as the flocks of the field. So what that basically means is that excuse me, gold will work for you like a slave as long as you invest it wisely. If you know what you're doing and you study and you research your investments and you put it in to strong, secure investments, then it will work for you and it'll bring you more and more money. And as long as you keep putting that money in, that money will bring you more and more money. So gold indeed is a willing worker. It is ever eager to multiply when opportunity presents itself. To every man who hath a store of gold set by, opportunity comes for its most profitable use. As the years pass, it multiplies itself in surprising fashion. So, notice that it says years there, guys. It does take years to build wealth. I teach the slow road to wealth. Now, there are some quicker ways to wealth and some ways to build money faster by increasing your income, increasing your knowledge, that kind of thing. But I teach the slow road to wealth, guys. I will teach you some other ways, that you can make money quicker and increase, the money that you're making now. But don't expect to become wealthy overnight, guys, because it just doesn't happen. If you look at overnight successes, more than likely they had to work for years before that overnight success all of a sudden happened. So that's the first point I wanted to point out in there. Secondly, so opportunities do present themselves all the time, and the main problem is that most people don't have the money to do anything with. Like, my company will offer above average returns on investment, and a lot of my friends, they can't invest with my company because they don't have the habit of saving and they don't have enough money set aside to be able to invest with my company and earn themselves some money. You always have these opportunities come to you, and make sure to look into opportunities very, very specifically, and make sure to get all the information possible and research them and study them, because a lot of people will tell you they can do stuff with your money that they really can't, and that's something you got to watch out for. That's for a different part in this video, but so I digress on that. But those opportunities will come, but that's why you have to have that saving mentality first, because if you don't have a store of money to be able to invest, when an opportunity comes to you and presents itself, you won't be able to do anything. Say I came to you and I told you if you had $150,000 within a month, I could turn it into $1 million, but I need a minimum investment of $150,000. More than likely, you would not be able to do that. Now, that's a huge investment, not something that you more than likely would be able to have right off the bat or to start, but down the years, down the road, you would. Or, say I even came to you with something small. I said, I need a minimal investment of $5,000 to $10,000, and I can quadruple that in the next couple months. Now, this is a extremely high return, and something that I would look into. If somebody told me this, I would look into it extremely well, because usually when people say that your money has magical powers, they're lying, and they can't do that for you. Sometimes it is true, and sometimes it can happen, but more than likely it's a lie, so you should kind of really look into it, do your due diligence, do your research. But that being said, that's why you have to have that saving mentality first, because if you do not, then when some opportunity does present itself that is legitimate and that can bring you a good return on your investment, you need to make sure that you have the money available to be able to invest it. Okay, so my next note. Gold clingeth to the protection of the cautious owner who invests it under the advice of men wise in its handling. Okay, subset, gold indeed clingeth to the cautious owner, even as it flees the careless owner. The man who seeks the advice of men wise in handling gold soon learneth not to jeopardize his treasure, but to preserve it in safety and enjoy in contentment its consistent increase. Okay, so again, huge mouthful in just a little bitty sentence. Okay, so first part, gold clingeth to the protection of the cautious owner who invests it under the advice of men wise in its handling. Now, what that says is that you find people, wealthy people who have a lot of money, and find out what they do with their money, how they have so much money. Because more than likely, if they have a lot of money, they're wise in handling money, they know what to do with their money, and they can teach you and show you how to do those things with your money. Now, This is why in my comment back to yours, Foodmens, that I said that you wouldn't like my response, because there is no set thing to do after you started the saving mentality. That's where research comes in, due diligence comes in. One of my favorite things to tell people when they ask me, you know, what they should do to make money is, don't go out and find some way to make money and then become passionate about it. Find something that you're passionate about and then figure out how that it can make you money. Okay, so that's why you got to seek out the advice of wise people. You know, talk to them, and wise people, they love to talk. You know, old rich people, they love to talk. They just do. They'll talk your ear off. As long as you talk about them and ask them a bunch of questions, everybody will talk for hours about themselves. So, go find those men that are wise in handling money, that are wealthy. See the things that they do with their money. And don't just find one, find many. And eventually, after talking to a bunch of people who are wise in handling money, you'll learn a bunch of different ways to make money. And then you'll decide which ways work for you, which things that you would like to do. You know, what works for some people doesn't work for other people. The reason is because they don't have passion. Passion is a main key when it comes to making money. Because if you're passionate about what you do, when you're tired, when you're groggy, you know, when you haven't had much sleep, it's easy to still get up and do those things because, you know, you have a passion for it. You love to do it. It's not a job. It's not work. It's not, you know, something that you have to do. It's something that you want to do. You know, I remember when I was a kid and I was younger and I used to play video games, I'd be up all night, you know, till an hour before I had to go to school to play video games. I'd go to school all day. I might be a little bit draggy all day, whatever, at school. But when I came home, I didn't go to bed. I jumped right on those video games and I started playing them, you know. I didn't have to play those video games. I could have taken a nap. I could have went to bed, but I love those video games, you know. Same way I feel with my work and the things that I do now. I love to research this stuff. I love to talk about this stuff. I love to teach these things. So, you know, when I'm tired, when I come home from a long day, you know, it's not something that I want to sit down and watch TV to relax. No, I want to come up here and study to relax. I want to come record some videos to relax. This is the things that I love to do. So, that's my main advice. Take it from me as a fairly wealthy person. You know, I'm not an extremely wealthy person, but find something that you're passionate about and use that to make you money. Figure out how you could use your passion to make you money. If you want specific advice about that, message me. I'm more than willing to help you out. Now, you know, I may eventually start charging for it, but for right now, you know, I just like to help people. That's what I do. So my next note. Gold slippeth away from the man who invests it in business or purpose with which he is not familiar, or which are not approved by those who are skilled in its keep. Okay, so what this means, actually I'll read you the subset as well because this is a long subset. So, to the man who hath gold, yet is not skilled in its handling, many uses for it appear, most profitable. Too often these are fraught with danger of loss, and if properly analyzed by wise men, show small possibility of profit. Therefore the inexperienced owner of gold, who trusts to his own judgment and invests in business or purposes with which he is not familiar, too often finds his judgment imperfect and pays with his treasure for his inexperience. Wise indeed is he who investeth his treasure under the advice of men skilled in the ways of gold. Wow, now that's a huge mouthful. Now, before I go into saying anything about this, first thing that I want to say is the one thing that I've noticed in a lot of my research and in me myself is that it takes about 2 years after you've created the saving mentality and putting about 10% of your money away for about 2 years is when, you know, big things really start to happen. Now, why 2 years? Well, the reason is I think because of learning experiences. The first thing that people do when they start saving their money is they start to get antsy. You know, they want to see that money grow. They know it's coming. They get excited. They get anticipated. You know, maybe you're feeling it yourself. You got this huge amount of money in your bank account, and you know you're just getting ready. You're looking. You're hungry for some investments. Okay? So, but gold slippeth away from the man who invests in business or purposes which he is not familiar with. So, what does that first part mean? If you don't know what you're doing when it comes to a certain type of business, you should not be doing it, at least on your own. Hire professionals. That's where, you know, Napoleon Hill's mastermind comes in. And I'll do another video on the mastermind some other day, but look into it. There's tons of videos on Napoleon Hill's mastermind all over YouTube, all over the internet even. So you shouldn't be, you know, trying to do things on your own and, you know, do everything on your own, because there's a huge learning curve. You know, I did the same mistake. I've, you know, started several businesses that have failed because I wanted to do everything on my own. And I didn't have enough money put away. I didn't have the saving mentality. And, you know, they just failed. Because, you know, I mean, they were learning experiences for me. There's something that I'll never go back on, and there's something that I don't regret, because if they weren't for those learning experiences, I wouldn't know what I know now. But what I'm trying to do is keep you guys from doing those same things. So maybe, hopefully, it won't take you 2 full years. Okay, so the first thing people do is they try and start a business on their own. They try and do everything on their own. They realize how much they have to learn. Usually they can't do it all right away. They end up losing a lot of money to, and usually their entire savings, to starting a business on their own. Okay, so that's first thing. Gold slippeth away from the man who invests in business or purposes which he is not familiar, which is not approved by those skilled in his keep. So there's a lot of things, and this goes along with this first part of this, the first part of this subset. To the man who hath gold, yet is not skilled in its handling, many uses for it appear most profitable. Too often these are fraught with dangers of loss, and if properly analyzed by wise men, show small possibility of profit. Now there's a lot of businesses out there, MLMs being one of them. I'd say the main one that dupe people. Now there's a lot. I'm not duping MLMs. There's one of my favorite t-shirts I just saw on Facebook the other day. It has a picture of a CEO on top, and then it says supervisors, there's a few of them, and then it says managers, there's a few more, and then it says employees, and their faces get a little bit more unhappy as they go down. And it says, no thanks, looks like a pyramid scheme. So MLMs, you know, pretty much any company is set up like a multi-level marketing company. And multi-level marketing companies are fantastic companies to get into for a lot of different reasons. Now, I'll do other videos on MLMs later, but for right now, what you need to know is those are also very dangerous. There's a lot of scrupulous MLMs out there that are illegal. There's a lot of MLMs out there that have really no possibility of profit. And when you analyze them, you can really see and determine these things. And wise men, people who know what they're doing, when they analyze some type of business or some type of investment where somebody comes to you and, you know, you're new to things, and it may seem to you that it's a proper, great investment or a fantastic idea, and it's really not. Okay, so best thing to do is take that to, you know, those people that are wise in handling money and be like, hey, check this out. Would you do this? You know, would this be something that, you know, would interest you? Because if somebody who's wise in handling money is like, yeah, that seems like a good idea, and they look into it and they do it, then more than likely you should be following them. But if you take it to somebody who's wise in handling money, a wealthy person, and they're like, yeah, if you look at this, and they start pointing out all the flaws, and then you can see kind of how they start to analyze these things, and you can say, oh, okay, so that's why it wouldn't be profitable. And so that's the second mistake people make, is people will come to them with magical ways that they can make their money grow fantastically, and they'll invest it with them, and then they'll lose it. Okay, and then they'll have to start that savings over again. And so after a few years of doing this, you finally get the hint and you start doing it right and investing with wise people who have a lot of money and know what they're doing. Alright, so Therefore, the inexperienced owner of gold who trusts his own judgment and invests in business and purposes which he is not familiar, too often finds his judgment imperfect and pays with his treasure for his inexperience. Wise indeed is the one who investeth his treasures under the advice of men skilled in the ways of gold. So basically what I just said, guys, if you invest your money in businesses that you don't know about, or with people who say that your money is, they can say that your money can grow all crazy and it's really not a good investment, but you don't have it checked out by somebody who knows what they're doing, more than likely, again, you're going to lose and pay with that savings that you've been building up. So, now this is my last note on the laws of gold. Again, we'll go over other parts of this again, I'll have to make a whole series of videos on this, but the last part on my notes of gold is, gold flees the man who would force it to impossible earnings, or who floweth the alluring advice of tricksters and schemers, who trusts to his own inexperience and romantic desires in investment. Okay, subnote, fanciful propositions that thrill like adventure, tales away always come to the new owners of gold. These appear to endow his treasure with magical powers that will enable it to make impossible earnings. Yet heed ye the wise men, for verily they know the risks lurk behind every plan to make great wealth suddenly. Okay, so what does this say again? We're watching out for those tricksters that can tell you that your money can make 6, 7, 800, 1,000%. Returns of 10, 15, 20, 50, 100%. Those are, common returns that I see. 100% is kind of getting up there, but people who tell me that I can quadruple, my money in a matter of months, again, like I said earlier in this video, that's something that I'm going to look into very carefully, because more than likely the amount of risk that goes along with that is ridiculous. Because as investments go, the higher the risk, the higher the reward. The lower the risk, the lower the reward. So secure investments often don't give high returns, okay? Now, I'm not talking about low-end secure investments like CDs and things like that. Now, I have secure investments that, will make me 10, 15% of my money. That's what I consider a secure investment, is something that will at least make me 10% of my money. I won't move any of my money unless it makes me at least 10% interest. But high-risk things, I'll do them sometimes, There's some high-risk things that could be worth it, and they pan out sometimes. But don't ever risk money that you don't have to lose. Do never, ever, ever risk money that you don't have to lose. Like, one of the best advice that I have, especially with MLMs, because again, these are the tricksters. These are the guys who will say, your little bit of investment can make you a bunch of money, and they'll talk you into doing stuff, and they'll work along with you, and the skills and the lessons that you learn in MLMs are great, which is why I tell people, if you're going to invest in an MLM, plan on losing that money. Plan on that being just a learning experience for you. You learn how a business works, you learn how to sell a little bit better, but ultimately, don't plan on making your money back on an MLM, because 95% of people can't do it. So, that being said, guys, I hope this helps. Foodmens, I hope this answers your question just a little bit. And that, so to summarize the answer to your question real quick at the end of this video, after you've created your saving mentality, after you've started paying off most of your debts, what you need to do is start seeking out the advice of people who have a lot of money and see what they do with their money. Now, one of the things that I recommend, if you want advice from me personally, is find something that you're passionate about. What do you love about life? If you had all the money in the world and you never had to worry about money ever again in your entire life, what would you spend your time doing? Once you have that answer, figure out what you can do to monetize that. Look at other people who are doing things with their passions. You'll find them. Look hard. If you want some specific advice, let me know what your passion is, and I will give you some personal, specific advice on how you can start to monetize your passion. So, I hope this video has been helpful. This has been DPRS Unlimited, the little guy helping the little guy. If you like videos, you want more content like this, make sure to subscribe below. Like this video if you did like this video. It really does help us out. Well, it helps me out. I guess there's really not us except for the people that I hire, so I don't really have another face behind this company. Thank you so much, guys, again. This has been DPRS Unlimited, the little guy helping the little guy. I'll see you back for this series of videos on what to do next after the saving mentality.